a message to all those who voted for us yesterday, especially those who voted for us Conservatives, One Nation Conservatives, for the first time. You may only have lent us your vote, and you may not think of yourself as a natural Tory. Your hand may have quivered over the ballot paper as before you put your cross in the Conservative box. And you may intend to return to Labour next time round. And if that is the case, I am humbled that you have put your trust in me and that you have put your trust in us. And I and we will never take your support for granted.
It's all over but for the crying and the screaming, people.
Guys, I just watched the Labour Manifesto and I think it's the best manifesto I've ever seen.
Look at all that blue. Hello everyone, it's NeoUnrealist. So in case you woke up today, you have no idea what all the noise was coming from over the Atlantic Ocean, it was the sound of the British people firmly grabbing the reins of power. As I prattle on going forward in this video, realize I'm not a close observer of British politics, at least as not as I am of American politics here in the States, so take my observations with a big grain of salt. If you want people with a more granular detail on British politics, you'd probably be watching Sargon of Akkad right now, wouldn't you? Though, personally, there's a quirky center-right YouTuber who goes by the handle of Poe the Person, who I find well-spoken on issues in the UK.
This is too patronising. Do you guys need these explanations? But that's why you can get a lot of Labour MPs just from this very small, just from central London. It's ridiculously red. There's a lot of people in. So the thing is, in London, you've got a very high Muslim population, and it seems like the class divide that we saw before is being replaced by this this ethnic divide. That's what I've heard, at least. I don't know if that's fair to say, but it seems like these seats that are very high percentage of immigrants and second and third generation immigrants as well as Muslims, they've been voting Labour.
Check out our channel if you want to hear someone with a better handle on things over in the UK. But for whatever reason, you wouldn't rather just watch Sargon. Now, first and foremost, what the 2019 election was about Brexit. At least the English portion of the UK population voted for Boris Johnson's Conservative Party in large numbers, giving the Tory party a majority they've not seen since the heights of the Thatcher era. What was it, 1987? A lot of you watching this weren't even born yet in 1987. That was more than 30 years ago. And way up in Scotland, the Scottish National Party, the Nationalist Party up there, they won 80% of the seats in Scotland. Now, the Conservative Party was more or less the rest of the Scottish seats, and Labour was just wiped out in Scotland. They're down to one one single solitary seat left north of the Firth of Forth. I mean, you can't even see any red up there. The Scottish Nationalist Party vote, you know, they rendered the Labour Party, it's nothing but a rumor up there. And as of today, they have ceased to exist in Scotland. And they, you know, the SNP, they won on the different side of the Brexit question, as the SNP is very much against leaving the EU. Over in Northern Ireland, for the first time ever, Northern Ireland is going to send more nationalist members of Parliament than Unionist members of Parliament. So as it stands, the voters of England and Wales voted for the United Kingdom to leave the European Union and to become a fully sovereign country again by the end of next year. In Scotland, the Scotland National Party, who, let's face it, the word national is in the name of the party and its agenda, Scottish nationalism, are voting to reject the Tory takeover of the government in London on the Brexit platform. The Irish have sent the nationalist parties to London for the first time in a majority as of their delegation, at least, Sinn Féin and the SDLP. So the Irish nationalist parties have 9 seats versus the Unionists' 8 seats. Look, the nationalists, on a long enough timeline, they're going to win every time in the end, people. How did this happen? And I'll tell you exactly how it happened, at least as far as I could tell. The Labour Party seems to have completely lost the support of the British working class. 4 years ago, Boris Johnson was just the mayor of London. He wasn't even sure whether he was going to come out in favor of leave or remain in the Brexit referendum. I mean, the day before Boris Johnson publicly announced that he would support Brexit, a poll showed remaining in the EU was 15 percentage points ahead of the leave vote. Now here we are, just 4 short years later. It's nearly 2020. You know, within days, that's what the calendar is going to turn to. And the British people have just reaffirmed that stunning vote for Brexit by handing Boris Johnson a mandate to get Brexit done. They've given him, the massive majority that will empower him to get that. Now, all that said, one only has to look at the electoral map of the UK as it stands right now to see what a political realignment has occurred. Look at that sea of blue. The vast sea of blue that you are looking at represents the places the Conservative Party now represents. Those islands of red you see dotting the map is the rump that remains of the Labour Party in the UK. Look at the wipeout at the top of the map. Just look at Scotland. There is no red there, except for one little dot that you probably can't even see if you're watching this video on your phone. On the left side of the map, you'll see in Wales, the Labour is reduced to a small band in the south of Wales, while the rest of the Welsh are divided between backing Boris Johnson and his Conservative Party, and the green places, those are held by the Welsh Nationalist Party, Plaid Cymru, whose agenda is for Welsh independence. So again, the main message seems to be people voting for their tribe, their natio, so to speak, whether they see that as Scotland, Ireland, Wales, or England, or the United Kingdom as a separate entity from the European Union. But in general, what has happened is that there is a majority of people for whom the flag of St. George, that red and white cross flag now seems to mean more to them than the Union Jack, especially outside of London. The English working class voted for the Conservative Party in numbers they never have before, leaving the Labour Party basically the party of condescending Londoners, city-goers, Muslim immigrants and their second and third generation descendants.
Why should they rule over me and mine from some flowery seat in the south?
Labour lost the Midlands, and the voters in the north, in places like Yorkshire, this is the UK version of the phenomenon in the US where the Democrat Party has lost the white working class and has become the party of large cities, mostly coastal cities, while the vast sea of Republican districts blankets the middle of the country. only intermittently interrupted by large Democrat cities here and there like Chicago. So it would seem that Labour Party electoral strategy of running a half a communist and a friend of terror like Jeremy Corbyn as their party leader and calling the voters racists if they support an independent United Kingdom, it looks like that strategy failed colossally. Make no mistake, it was not just about Brexit. I mean, many of the people who voted for Boris Johnson, they didn't vote for him, because they subtly embrace conservative values, and it's because the alternative, the Labour Party, it's a perfect storm. The Labour Party went so far to the left. Jeremy Corbyn made no cute poses as a centrist or a Tony Blair-style neoliberal New Labour type. His message was far left, and this is in a British context, mind you, where, over in the UK, they're generally further to the left than US politics are. So imagine that. The British Conservative Party, in an American context, would be considered centrist, to the left of the Republican Party on a lot of issues. So let this be a warning to the Democrats here in the US for 2020. Go too far left, and this woman might have an encore. Going too far left is what puts guys like Trump and guys like Boris Johnson in charge of your country. That's just how I see it. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor, hit like for this video, leave a comment below, mash down the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel, and click on the notification bell beside it. Put it on the all setting to keep up with newer content. If you want to contribute directly to the channel and toss your hard-earned dollars, your pounds sterling into the tip jar, follow the links below to Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal. If you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. And thanks for watching.